busy weekend in WWE as they had Worlds Collide and Money in the Bank. And then, of course, all the fallout that happened Monday night on Raw. And to help me break it all down, joining me on the hotline, he is the managing editor for WrestleZone.com. Good friend, wonderful, frequent guest on this show. It is Bill Pritchard. Bill, how are you, man?
I'm doing good. Glad to be back.
Let's start with Money in the Bank. That was Saturday night. Give me your overall letter grade for Money in the Bank.
Uh, B plus, strong B plus.
Okay.
And I think I might be underselling it.
Yeah, it was one. I think it was one of those cards that it, you know, I'd say at least half the results were, well, probably just about all the results were pretty expected, but it served its purpose. So
hmm
yeah, I get that. I get that. Let's start with what happened with the main event: Cody Rhodes and Jey Uso, then the World Heavyweight Champion taking on John Cena, the undisputed WWE Champion, and Logan Paul. It was a match back and forth. Cena is about to lower the boom on Cody, and then here comes this hooded figure, cracks John Cena, takes off the hood, and it's R-Truth. And so after a week of being, the of finding out that his contract wasn't being renewed, and the fans kept chanting, and wrestlers kept tweeting and everything, he's back. He is now using his real name of Ron Killings. Uh let's start with Ron Killings, R-Truth, whatever we want to call him. What Give me your thoughts on everything that has happened regarding him in the last 72 hours.
First, I'll say getting rid of him was a mistake. I think they very quickly realized that. If I'm giving credit, I'll give credit for them realizing they made a mistake and going back and trying to make amends with him. I'll give him credit for if all the reports that you heard about him not taking their calls and kind of having Nick Khan take the reins to make things right. I'll credit him for negotiating that way because he was wronged, and I appreciate that he didn't just jump back in and be like, "Oh, okay, like you know, we're good." Like clearly they're not, but I'm very interested to see where they go with this because as good as R-Truth is as a comedic character, this is kind of the guy I've been waiting to see since I can't remember what year it was, but Capital Punishment, like that year that he had the feud with Cena,
Mm-hmm.
I think it was 2011.
Yeah, man.
Like he showed like an edge then, and it was like that's kind of I say this like all the time, but like that's what I want out of my wrestling. Like I know that these guys are playing a role and they're supposed to be funny, but at the same time, it's like when the bell rings, they should be able to handle themselves. Like, the NFL saying any team can win on any given Sunday.
Right.
I want a little bit more out of that, or more of that out of guys like him. Or, I use the example of Santino at Elimination Chamber when Daniel Bryan, that was almost an upset that one year.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Nobody thought Santino was going to win, but the near falls in that match, it was just kind of like you want that believability, and I think this helps Truth or Ron Killings do that without completely, kind of dumping on the R-Truth character. It feels like sort of a natural evolution without knocking what he did before.
Right. I'm totally with you. What I guess floors me is that a lot of people forget, and yes, this was early TNA. but he is a former two-time NWA World Heavyweight Champion, and he beat Ken Shamrock for that once. I mean, Ron Killings is no slouch in the ring. So you're right. As much as I enjoy our truth, yes, now to see this side of it, and it sounds like we're going to get, we'll still get glimpses of our truth, but I think we will now see more of Ron Killings, and I'm all for it. I want to see where it goes. As far as that match, you know, in the return of Ron Killings kind of overshadowed the simple fact Cody pinned Cena. So if you take that little piece, you kind of have to figure, okay, that's going to set up the eventual rematch from WrestleMania, where Cody's going to face John Cena. Um,
I think maybe they want that distraction right now, if you think about it, because John Cena is now facing CM Punk, and for the most part, the feedback is, oh, I can't believe Punk is doing a match in Saudi Arabia, but also, I can't believe that match isn't happening at SummerSlam. So I feel like Truth running in during that match makes sense because Cena kind of took credit for getting him fired. So, there's wiggle room there, but it also gives them an out to delay Cody versus Cena.
yeah, I, a lot of people, including a lot of our colleagues, I think they kind of figure that them on that rematch, Cody will regain the title. Are you in that camp, or is it going to be somebody else? Because somebody's going to take that title from Cena. He's not going to retire with it, no
I
matter what he
don't,
says.
yeah, I don't think it should happen if SummerSlam is like the plan. I think it's too soon. And part of me thinks it should be a newer guy because Roman kind of did the favor for Cody already, and Cody's like a made guy now.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like Cena could also do that and build another person instead of just kind of, increasing Cody's stock. Like I don't think Cody needs that right now. Like yes, it makes sense to get the win back, but I kind of want to see him, you know, not like a relatively unknown, but I'm sure there's somebody coming up that would really benefit from that. Like obviously it didn't play out like that, but I'd say Jey Uso if he was in that position, like the same way that he won at WrestleMania.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I think I kind of agree with that. I don't think it'd be that bad of a thing if Cody wins, but you're right. I think giving a younger guy or someone that's not quite in the main event picture right at this moment, give them that boost. Yeah, that makes sense.
Like what about I'll throw this out here, like what about LA Knight? Like he seems like somebody people are behind. You could build to it, and he's kind of like up there in the world title picture, or you would say he's ready for it
Yeah,
rather than somebody that just got called up like last year or something. So
I
I would
like.
say like a guy like LA Knight maybe.
Yeah, I like that. I like that. That could happen. Uh, Naomi and Seth Rollins winning the Money in the Bank ladder matches, so they've got the briefcases. I will be honest, I had I don't know why, but I kind of thought Seth might have cashed in last night, but he didn't. Um, we've it's it. I would think it's a pretty solid bet that when both of them cash in, whenever it is, they will both win their respective world titles. Let me ask you, if we were to look at it, and we Jey Uso lost the World Heavyweight Championship to Gunther on Raw. So who does Seth Rollins cash in on? Gunther or John Cena, or is it if one of those guys drops the title to somebody else?
I mean, after this week, especially last night, the way I kind of was thinking is, and this is all based on the Goldberg rumors,
Mm-hmm.
I could totally see them trying to pull Rollins cashing in at Saturday night's main event on like maybe there's not even a title change in that match, but like I could see Goldberg like being right there and getting ready to like get the pin, and then Rollins runs in and hits a stomp on the briefcase or something like that, whether he pins Gunther or not. Like I think that would make a little bit more sense, but then again, you don't know if Goldberg wants that as his final match. I think there's going to be a little bit more finality surrounding it. So,
Mm-hmm.
but I think I agree with your first point that both of them are probably going to win the title whenever they do cash in.
Yeah, yeah. Let's talk about Naomi. Who does she cash in on? I guess right now it would either be Io Sky or Tiffany Stratton, is it like what we were talking about with the men? Somebody wins the title and then Naomi cashes in almost immediately.
I think if I look at the men's and women's side of things, I think I'm more confident in that sort of cash in happening with Naomi.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's kind of with looking at the Queen of the Ring tournament. I can absolutely see Jade winning that. If you want to look at it this way, like Jade looks like a queen. She could have that title for however long they do. I think it's like a year. Would look good in a crown. And then if she gets a SummerSlam title match, Naomi runs in and ruins it for her. I am more confident in that than anything that Rollins might do with his cash in.
That would make sense since they've got the ongoing rivalry, Naomi and Jade. So yeah, Jade versus I guess it would be Tiffany at SummerSlam, going through the match. It's getting late in the match, and then here comes Naomi to cash in, and she ends up winning. So, Becky Lynch defeating Lyra Valkyria to win the Women's Intercontinental Championship. Was that the right move?
I think so. It kind of puts Lyra in that babyface chasing the heel champion position. And I feel I don't want to say it was super obvious, but like once you attach that never challenging for the title again stipulation, it
Yeah,
it kind of feels like it's a foregone conclusion.
exactly.
I can't think of the last time that WWE specifically paid that paid that off because I can't remember what year, but like Dolph Ziggler and The Miz had that like career-threatening match, and Ziggler still won, and I thought that was totally the wrong move. They could have had him like disappear for a while and figure out a way to bring him back, blah blah blah. But like I feel like the biggest one that actually stuck was Cody in AEW not challenging for the world title.
Yeah,
And he even said, or somebody even said, but I believe it was him afterwards, that stipulation kind of became an albatross after a while.
yeah. I think it was him actually. I think he said it in an interview. He talked about
Mm.
how that was probably a bad move on his part. So yeah, I get
Still
that.
respect them doing it.
Yeah, hey, you know, it's kind of one of those you don't want the kind of like Jeff Jarrett booking himself in TNA to win the world title. So uh then we had this impromptu match that came out of Worlds Collide. Dominic Mysterio, Octagon Jr. from AAA. Dominic wins to retain the Intercontinental title. And the first thing I say is why? Why did we have to have that match? Because I don't think anybody expected Octagon Jr. to walk out with the IC title. The card with 4 matches, I think, was a perfect fit. So it's kind of like, why do this match?
I liked it. I'm gonna disagree. I liked
Okay.
it because it's Dom. I feel like anytime you get the chance to feature him, people are gonna be happy. It's very entertaining. Uh, I felt that this card needed more than 4 matches. Like
Okay.
I understand that this is like almost like the formula now outside of like WrestleMania, but I feel like every card this year and last year, every single one of them could have benefited from another match because there's so much downtime in between each match. Like the commercials at home are one thing, but like just the live event experience, it's too much downtime for me. So I agree with you. I didn't expect him to win, but at least it's in-ring action instead of another hype package. And I saw somewhere that they trademarked King of the Luchadors, and he used that phrase on one of his Instagram posts. So I think maybe that, it's sort of like a slow build storyline that they're going for. Maybe building back up to Ray's return. I don't know, but that would seem logical.
Yeah.
But I was totally fine with a match like this. At least it had, somebody entertaining and it wasn't just kind of like thrown on there because like, no offense to him, like they used to do that with Ryback a lot.
Yeah.
And it was like there was no stakes to it besides just showing off how strong he was. At least this was Dom. It's entertaining. Plus, they could hype the AAA alliance and
Right. Give those
Octagon
guys love.
Jr., give him a little love and be like, hey, go check him out. He was at Worlds Collide, or go check out what AAA is doing. Like,
Yeah. Yeah. Give them some visibility. I get that. Speaking of Worlds Collide, it was I mean, it was a good show. You know, you had Vikingo retain the AAA Mega Championship over Chad Gable. Um, Legado del Fantasma gets the win over El Hijo de Dr. Wagner Jr., Psycho Clown Pagano. You had the trio from AAA, Aerostar, Mr. Iguana, Octagon Jr. defeating Cruz del Toro and Dragon Lead from LWO, along with Lince Dorado. That was a that was a sub for Joaquin Wild because he got a concussion, I think. Um, Stephanie Fucura, Lola Vice getting the win over Dalis and Chico Domenta, and then Ethan Page retaining the NXT North American title over Ray Phoenix, Javon Evans, and AAA's Laredo Kid. Uh, from what you guys do a really good job following this stuff and getting finding out the feeling. Any was I mean, is this just a was this just a slam dunk? This was a good card and it gave visibility to the AAA folks. Did you hear any type of negative? Have you heard any type of negative feedback on Worlds Collide?
no, I I feel like it, for the most part, everybody says it's a good showcase of AAA talent. The WWE talent were used in an appropriate manner. Like, Stephanie Vaquer still has that, I guess, crossover appeal, if that's the right way to put it. But like uh Chad Gable, like, he's a great wrestler. I think, he kind of reinforced why WWE values him. Same for Ethan Page. Uh and like you said, Joaquin Wild was out of the 6-man match, but it was cool to see Lince Dorado getting a shot again. I know he did a taping, I think it was for Evolve, like 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. You're
Like, so getting him back in the fold. Uh, I'm excited to see what they do with it. I hope this is a good vision of what they're going to do in the future because I think after WrestleMania, a lot of people were worried that AAA is going to become too much like WWE, sports entertainment side of it, but I think this was a good balance of it.
True, and I think the historical package they put together and showed on the broadcast. It kind of showed AAA kind of in a light of they flashier, more storytelling, that type of thing. Trying, and of course they didn't mention CMLL, but I think they were trying to, you know, show the
Mm.
contrast between them and CMLL. Kind of like it felt a little like what the WWF was, as opposed to say Crockett, where it was flashier, more colorful characters, all that good stuff. So, um, a couple of things that happened last night on Raw. We mentioned CM Punk challenging John Cena for the WWE title at Night of Champions, June 28th in Saudi Arabia. It's I you know I think it's a safe bet. CM Punk's not coming out of there with the title. But I will ask this. So there has been a lot of chit chat about the possibility of having John Cena have this crisis of conscience, for lack of a better term, and because I think most people expect John Cena is going to turn babyface, because you're not going to have him retire as a heel, because you just don't do that. I keep pulling up Hiroshi Tanahashi in New Japan. He's still one of the most popular stars in New Japan, and he's going to be that way through this retirement tour he's doing right now. So does so Punk Cena. This is a callback to the Summer of Punk, and Punk winning the title, and going off for a bit and all that good stuff and everything. Could you see this match in Saudi Arabia as being kind of the, shall we say, spark to make that happen?
Yeah, I don't think this is going to be a one-off. At least I hope not, because there's too much history between these two to just kind of have it be like a 3 week thing. I think, I mentioned earlier a lot of people were feeling like this would be good for SummerSlam.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like part of me wants to say that there's some way that they switched this match and it doesn't even happen at Night of Champions, but then there's the other side of me thinks they're still going to have a match and this is just part one of the story that, like you said, Summer of Punk kind of carries through SummerSlam, maybe even goes to I can't remember what this what pay-per-view they moved.
Oh
Uh
man, you talking about after SummerSlam?
yeah, because they switched things around and that was like a big deal. Um but yeah, I think
Backlash? No, they just
no,
had Backlash.
no, I don't want to say Money in the Bank because that's 2026, but
Yeah.
I definitely think this is like there's just it's going to be a part one, and I think they'll meet hopefully at SummerSlam, but I think this is definitely gonna continue through the show.
Okay. Yeah. We had the start of the King and Queen of the Ring tournaments. Roxanne Perez and Sami Zayn
I
are
was thinking of Clash in Paris. That's
uh,
what it, that's what it
yes,
was.
I think you're right. So Roxanne Perez, Sami Zayn, both qualify for King and Queen of the Ring. Uh, I mean, and they've still got a few matches to go, but let's play a little fantasy booking. Do you see either one of those even having a chance at winning their respective tournament?
Yeah.
We talked earlier about Jade, but feels like Roxanne Perez might have a shot.
I was gonna say if the Jade Naomi story doesn't play out that way, I could see them giving Roxanne a chance at building her name. Like she's had a really good, if you want to call it her rookie year,
Mm-hmm.
like Royal Rumble. She's been on a few main roster shows this year. They clearly see her as somebody as the future. Uh, I mean, I could see Naomi kind of screwing over Jade in this first round match or against Roxanne. I still feel like Naomi and Jade, that is going to continue. That's kind of going to be what happens. But I definitely could see Roxanne winning the whole thing. They clearly believe in her a lot. So
Not to mention, I think there's got to be some sort of, because they've been teasing this whole, strife within Judgment Day with Roxanne and Liv Morgan and Dominic, and it's Finn Balor trying to just stir the pot and all that good stuff. So there's got to be something because they can't, I know they've been teasing the breakup of A Town Down Under for the last 3 years. So, but I got a feeling that Roxanne is going to probably have a little more accelerated effect on Judgment Day. What do you think?
I think so. It feels like as much as we've been predicting A Town Down Under's demise, I feel like we've been kind of waiting for Judgment Days. And I can't remember who posted it, but it was like if you count since Edge, Adam Copeland's been in it, it's like almost 4 years or something like that that the group's been around. Like it's kind of crazy to think about.
Wow, that is crazy. That is really crazy. So, one other little note: former AEW Women's World Champion Mariah May made her appearance on NXT last week. Uh, what is it going to mean to see the glamour uh, in NXT for the in the weeks and months to come?
I think it's a great addition. I liked her work in AEW. I knew a little bit about her before that. Um, just seeing like random indie matches here and there, but like I keep seeing people point out like WWE's always been her dream. She made it no secret that she's a WWE fan. So, congratulations to her for realizing her dream. And I think people are, you know, they're gonna get a chance to see what she's been about, what we saw in AEW. It was a really, really good final story with Tony Storm.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, you know, give her some opportunities and maybe even build the division around her for now, because Roxanne's leaving, Jordan Grace just got there, Stephanie Vaquer and Julia, they're obviously moving on. So I think there's room for Mariah to kind of be the centerpiece.
Yeah, I think yeah, you're right. You mentioned, yeah, they just had three of their big names make it up to the main roster. It's expected Jordan Grace is probably not too, probably following soon. So yeah, that's a Mariah is going to be a good kind of restocking the roster there. So let's switch gears, talk a little AEW. I want us to talk. Let's start with the story that broke yesterday. And this was, and I'm gonna read this straight from Warner Brothers Discovery. Warner Brothers Discovery today announced plans to separate the company into two publicly traded companies, enabling each to maximize its potential. The streaming and studios company will consist of Warner Brothers Television, Warner Brothers Motion Picture Group, DC Studios, HBO, and HBO Max, as well as their legendary film and television libraries. Global networks will include premium entertainment, sports, and news television brands around the world, including CNN, TNT Sports in the United States, and Discovery, top free to air channels across Europe, and digital products such as the profitable Discovery Plus streaming service and Bleacher Report. So We've seen this in the industry already. Comcast is splitting off their cable networks. So now it's going to be, they're going to have two separate companies, the streaming and then the television folks. Uh, from I know it's really early, and at least in the short term, AEW should not be affected. But what could this mean long term? They are still, they are still in the early stages of their new TV deal with Warner Brothers Discovery. What could this mean for AEW going forward with, being, I guess, part of, I guess it'd be the global networks brand, although yes, they're streaming on Max. But just give me your thoughts. What have you heard? Anything that could shed any type of light on this?
I kind of know what you do, and I don't really see it having a major effect on AEW at all. If anything, when it happens, maybe they invest more in AEW, but um, I don't really see it having a major effect. The only thing I've really heard about AEW's TV schedule changing is people would really like to see Collision move to a weekday, maybe Thursdays. But, I mean, personally speaking, I would like that too.
Okay. Well, and that it kind of goes into the next point I was going to make, because so we have had, last week had Fighter Fest, this week Summer Blockbuster Series, so back to back 4 hour windows of AEW television on TBS on Wednesday night. Like I said, tomorrow night Summer Blockbuster. If they were going to move Collision, and look, they're trying to fill the void from losing the NBA rights to NBC and NBC Universal. So I get that, and they still got a pretty robust sports package with they're doing NASCAR. They've got a piece of the college football playoffs basically subletting it from ESPN and everything. But they, for weekly television, and they've got the NHL as well, but for weekly television, they've got AEW. So they want to maximize it. You tell me, you just mentioned it. So you tell me why it would make sense for them to put Collision on, let's say, Thursday night, right after you have Dynamite on Wednesday night.
If they actually keep the shows separately, I feel like they could make two distinctly different shows, and I think they'd have a bigger audience on Thursdays. Like, yes, you have to worry about NFL on Prime, but
Mm-hmm.
there's a lot of stuff you have to worry about the weekend. You might not get preempted as much, uh, not having to worry about the NBA. Um, plus, taping wise, it makes sense. Why wouldn't you go live instead of running a tape show that you're gonna have lower viewership because of spoilers? I think there's a few reasons why you have to at least make a strong consideration for it.
True. Let me ask you about. I mean, there's been the talk, like there was, for the longest time. So SmackDown, for instance, is 3 hours. There was talk that they were going to go back to 2 hours. Well, apparently now that's not happening. It's, they're going to stay 3 hours. AEW's running 4 hours on a Wednesday night. Do you see a possibility of him staying with that? Because like you just mentioned, taping Collision just to have it spoiled and everything. Could you see them running? Let's just run 4 hours every Wednesday night on TBS.
I hope not. I mean, I could see it, but I think it would get really old after a while. I mean, look at how people can still complain about 3 hour Raws, even though we're kind of out of that now with Netflix, but now it's people complain about 3 hour SmackDowns. Like it's a lot different sitting there for a television show compared to a pay-per-view. The stakes are a little higher on a pay-per-view. So I watched last week and it was still a bit long of a show, even though I mean it was entertaining. It's just I don't want it to become a regular thing.
Yeah, I'm with you. It was you're right because watching, well, I mean, even now, like I said, watching SmackDown 3 hours, you just get tired, and then so now you trying to do these 4 hour specials, and they don't have enough. They don't announce enough. They try to fill it with these other segments, and it's just I would rather just keep them, separate shows, separate nights, make them concise. I get it. So let's talk a little bit about Summer Blockbuster. It's supposed to be tomorrow night, 8 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Central, on TBS and Max. The big thing, we're gonna have the contract signing. They did make it official. Kenny Omega, the international champion, versus Kazuchika Okada, the continental champion. Both titles on the line. The renewal of this rivalry that a lot of people would say put on the greatest matches in wrestling history. Give me your thoughts on the prospect of seeing Omega Okada at All In Arlington.
I think it's a good match. I think it kind of gives you a match that AEW fans, and I'm saying this like kind of loosely, but like it's one they haven't seen before, even though it's happened in Japan, but like
Mm-hmm.
I think it's still a fresh matchup. I was just kind of, and this kind of plays into the 4 hour broadcast. Like I should have known better, but like last week when they were hyping the big announcement, I was thinking maybe like they're gonna announce Collision's going to Thursdays. I was thinking all different things. I thought as much as they hyped that, like just announcing that it's going to take place at All In was a little bit of a disappointment.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that's also fatigue setting in after watching a 4 hour wrestling show. But other than that, I think they could really play off the history between the two, and maybe this is wishful thinking. I don't know if this is the plan, but maybe merge the titles. I,
I think
I
that's been a lot of the talk was they were going to just they will finally consolidate these two titles into one. And yeah, I'm with you. I hope that's the case because I think all of us have been saying they have too many titles in AEW, so this be one way to at least consolidate two of them into one. The other big one, Will Ospreay taking on Swerve Strickland. So they're doing this thing where Hangman Adam Page has got the world title shot at All In. Osprey's trying to be the good soldier, Team AEW, battle the Death Riders, all that good stuff. And Swerve, meanwhile, is being the I'm not helping Hangman. I don't care what. And they've turned this into a rivalry. It it seems on the surface it seems okay. That's fine, except for the fact that you had the moment with Hangman and Swerve, I don't know, weeks ago, where Hangman is, admits to something or he says something and Swerve goes, I know. And it was kind of like that moment of, okay, they've acknowledged each other. Okay, I get that. Uh, just give me your thoughts on this match that's going to happen tomorrow night. What do you want to see as the outcome? What do you think we'll see as the outcome?
I think the whole thing is based on Hangman's redemption. I think there's still a lot that can be done to, sort of pay that off because like you said, there was it was something about him burning down the house and he was like he said something like out of turn and Swerve like yelled back like I know or
Yeah.
and it felt like that was the turning point, but then they kind of backed off on it. So I don't know if like I don't necessarily need to see them like team up and win the tag team titles. I think that's like too cliche, but I think maybe a handshake tomorrow, like just kind of like not a truce, but maybe an understanding, like some sort of acknowledgement, whether it's like a slow nod or a handshake, something like that. I think that's what I want, and I think that's maybe what will happen.
I mean, I'm kind of with you. I'm hoping that's kind of what they go with because I think what they need, I think the story that should be built on this heading into All In is basically everybody against Moxley and the Death Riders. They've had this, they've run roughshod, they've disrupted AEW, they're doing whatever, all the stuff, and it's been just just you know plowing through them, and so it's let's bring everybody together to combat the Death Riders and that. So I'm with you. Um, some good matches. It'll be interesting. Mystico, they're going to Mystico from CMLL in action. We'll see Thekla taking on Queen Aminata. All in all, good show. Uh, before I let you go, I want to ask you. He's one of my favorites. So Ring of Honor, they had the vignette touting the return of the man from Planet Peacock, Dalton Castle. Give me your favorite Dalton Castle moment, and what will Dalton Castle mean returning to Ring of Honor?
I think it's a great move. I loved the promo. Like it very clearly like you could tell it was CGI, but I think it kind of fits into his character. Like there's a cheesiness to it. As far as favorite moment, I mean, I kind of enjoyed his Ring of Honor World Title run, but I'm gonna cop out and say his entrance is always my favorite. Just there's something about it, like
I'm
Radio Gaga. Like I'm a Queen guy, so
Yeah, I'm with you. Now I will say I wish that Brent and Brandon were still there as the boys, because having these other boys, it's fine, but you miss Brent and Brandon doing the chirps and the high screeches, and it just fit. So, but yeah, his
no.
entrances, I would I'd easily say his entrances were among the greatest in Ring of Honor history, and among the greatest in wrestling at that time. I mean,
Yeah.
it was a moment to behold for sure. So he is Bill Pritchard. Catch all of his stuff, WrestleZone.com. Bill, I appreciate everything, man. All the best to you, and we'll talk again soon.
All right, sounds good. Thanks for having me on again.